Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar, AI meets Security, Unlocking the Power of Microsoft Security Copilot. I'm Sandeep Purushothaman and one of the security architects here at TRN Digital. And I'm really excited to take you through how AI is reshaping cybersecurity, helping organizations detect, respond to, and prevent threats faster and smarter than ever before. But before we dive in, let's take a look at what we'll be covering today. So we'll start with understanding today's overwhelming security challenges. We'll cover a few of the crises faced by today's SecOps teams. We'll go through what Security Copilot is. We'll try to understand what Security Copilot actually is. We'll go through a few core capabilities of Security Copilot along with its integration capabilities and a few key features. Then we'll proceed to a live demonstration of the Copilot portal. We'll also walk through a few sample outputs. Now, since this would be a production environment, we will not be doing any real-time prompts and responses. I've captured a few outputs in advance and we'll go through the outputs as a snapshot. But I'll be walking you through the portal of Microsoft Security Copilot. And at the end, we'll go through the implementation strategy. Now, just to give you a heads up, or just to clarify that we will not be going through a step-by-step instruction, but this will just be an implementation strategy, just to make sure you have everything that you need before you get started and what approach you would need to proceed further. So at the end of this webinar, you would have a good idea of what Security Copilot is and an approach to start implementing Security Copilot in your environment. With that, moving to the crisis faced by every organization today with regards to security. Now, according to Global Security Workspace gap, according to an ISC 2024 Cybersecurity Workspace study, the gap is the skill shortage is almost 4 million cybersecurity professionals. Now, despite the cybersecurity workforce growing by almost 10% in the last year, the industry still faces a significant shortfall of qualified workforce to defend against rising digital threats. Now, the frequency of password-based attacks has surged from 579 per second in 2021 to 7,000 per second in 2024. And of the 600 million daily identity attacks, more than 99% target user passwords. And this metric is coming from Microsoft Digital Defense Report 2024. And one of the other crises is the attackers can compromise systems within an average of 72 minutes after a user clicks on a malicious link. This again is coming from Microsoft Threat Intelligence, and all of this is possible because of AI as a tool set for the attackers. We'll go through a few other problems too faced by today's SOC teams. Now, every single day, organizations face thousands of security alerts from multiple systems. If you just talk about M365 and the entire Defender suite, we have Defender for Office 365, Defender for Identity, Defender for Cloud Apps, Defender for Endpoints. Now, all of these logs are created separately in their own portal, and these create a lot of thousands of alerts every single day. And not all of them are meaningful, but each one still demands attention. The result is alert fatigue. Analysts spend more time filtering noise than actually filtering or responding to the real threat. And that means the critical issues can slip right through the cracks. On top of that, most security teams rely on a fragmented set of tools. Each tool has its own logs, its own data, and they don't always talk to each other. And what we end up is data trapped in silos behind spots in visibility and delays in making the right decisions. the bigger the enterprise, the bigger this challenge becomes. As I mentioned earlier regarding the Defender workloads, now they all talk to XDR. XDR is where you get all the alerts, uh, be it any vector in the Defender. Now let's talk about the manual effort required when the data are in silos and the logs, when the tools are in silos and they don't talk to each other. As an analyst, you would spend hours cross-checking alerts, logs, and even across different systems just to confirm whether a threat is real. It is slow, it is repetitive, and it pulls experts away from the higher value work like proactive threat hunting, and the result is a slower response when speed is critical. And finally, the human toll. Tier 1 analysts are always drowning in repetitive alerts, burning out fast. Meanwhile, senior experts are overloaded with escalations and don't have the bandwidth for strategic priorities. And add to that the global talent shortage in cybersecurity, and this imbalance becomes unsustainable. So while our teams are overwhelmed with alerts, fragmented tools, and limited resources, attackers aren't slowing down. In fact, they are evolving. Attackers are rapidly adopting AI, and it's changing the game. Let's look at a few ways they are using it today. So first, password cracking. With AI, attackers can test billions of combinations in no time, making weak or reused passwords almost instantly breakable. Secondly, is automated vulnerability discovery. Now, instead of manually scanning the systems, which would take a lot of time, which would, that would mean to go through each and every logs, to parse each and every logs. Instead of doing that, attackers use AI to identify weak points across networks and applications, and this can be done with the help of AI at a massive scale. Third is customizing exploits. With the help of AI, adversaries can fine-tune the attack to match the exact environment they are targeting, making each exploit more precise and harder to stop. Fourth is phishing and social engineering. AI can generate highly convincing emails, chats, and even voice messages that are tailored to each victim, increasing the success rate dramatically. Fifth is malware generation. With AI, new malware variants can be created on demand, making detection harder and giving attackers a steady stream of fresh tools. And finally, deepfakes. Attackers can now replicate not just faces, but also data, emails, and even voices, impersonating trusted individuals and tricking employees or customers into acting on malicious requests. This is the new reality. Adversaries are using AI to be faster, smarter, and more dangerous than ever before. Now, the big question is, how do we fight back? How do we level the playing field? This is where Security Copilot comes in. Microsoft Security Copilot is the industry's first generative AI tool built specifically for cybersecurity. It is designed to work alongside your existing tools and your security team. This is not to replace the security team, but to amplify them, to empower them. With Security Copilot, analysts can cut through the noise of thousands of alerts, investigate threats in minutes instead of hours, and get actionable recommendations powered by Microsoft's global threat intelligence. Now, simply put, Security Copilot gives defenders the same AI advantage that attackers are already using, but with the power of Microsoft security expertise and the data behind it. So, yeah, so we have introduced Security Copilot as Microsoft's AI-powered security assistant, but what really sets it apart from other tools in the market? OpenAI plus Microsoft Security. Security Copilot combines the power of OpenAI's advanced language models with Microsoft's deep security expertise and global threat intelligence. This partnership brings the best of both worlds, cutting-edge AI with enterprise-grade security. A security-specific orchestrator, unlike generic Copilot, this one is purpose-built for security itself. It understands alerts, logs, incidents, and the security workflows, and it knows how to connect the dots across the entire environment. Evergreen threat intelligence. Copilot is continuously updating with Microsoft's latest threat data. It covers 78 trillion signals processed every day. That means defenders always have the most current view of the threat landscape. Cyber skills and prompt books. Built-in prompt books give security team ready-to-use workflows and common investigations, threat hunting, and reporting. It is like having a playbook encoded into AI and available instantly. Plugins. Security Copilot integrates with Microsoft tools like Defender, Sentinel, Entra, Purview, Priva, as well as third-party systems. So it can work across your entire security stack instead of adding just another silo. Security Copilot empowers the entire security team, and it takes care of every security role, whether you are a tier 1 analyst, triaging alerts, or a threat hunter looking for patterns, or be it a CISO needing a bigger picture view. Security Copilot adapts to the task and delivers insight at your level. This combination of intelligence, integration, and adaptability is what makes Security Copilot stand out. One of the biggest differentiators of Security Copilot is how well it integrates with the ecosystem. Let's talk about that in more detail. As we discussed, Security Copilot isn't a standalone tool. It is designed to work seamlessly across the entire Microsoft security ecosystem. It integrates with Microsoft Defender to quickly investigate and respond to endpoint, identity, and email alerts. With Microsoft Sentinel, analysts can correlate incidents, run advanced queries, and get actionable insights from massive datasets in just few seconds. And you might already be aware that Microsoft is already planning to move Sentinel from the Azure platform and bring it to Defender. So with that, in Defender XDR, you would have a unified view of the entire security ecosystem. And that also, so we will also talk about the experiences of Copilot and how this will make a difference in detail in the next few slides. With Microsoft Entra, the integration strengthens identity protection, helping detect compromised accounts and prevent lateral movement. Intune integration ensures device compliance and security posture are visible and actionable directly within Copilot. Microsoft Purview brings governance and data protection insights, ensuring sensitive data is monitored and secured. Now, Copilot also leverages Microsoft Threat Intelligence continuously updated with global signals, so teams always have the latest view of threat landscape. Finally, it built-in access to Microsoft documentation and playbooks ensures analysts have guidance and best practices at their fingertips, reducing context switching and response time. So what this also means is even the tier ones, if they are not sure of what actions to take or what would be the best practices, with Security Copilot by their side, they just have to create the proper prompt and they would get the proper response based on the security documentation provided by Microsoft and based on the security expertise. By connecting all these services, Security Copilot unifies security operations, making your team faster, smarter, and more effective. Now that we understand the depth of integration across the Microsoft ecosystem, let's take a look under the hood. How does Security Copilot actually work? Security Copilot operates as an AI-powered assistant that augments your security team at every stage of the security lifecycle. It ingests and analyzes vast amount of data from across the environment, including endpoints, identities, email, cloud workloads, and even third-party tools. Then using advanced AI models from OpenAI combined with Microsoft threat intelligence, it correlates the alerts, identifies patterns, and surfaces the prioritized incidents. Now for analysts, Copilot provides natural language summaries, actionable recommendations, and even guided workflows to investigate threats faster and more effectively. It can also automate repetitive tasks, generate reports, and suggest the next steps based on proven playbooks. This would free your team to focus on high-value security work. In short, Security Copilot turns raw data into clear, actionable intelligence, helping your team detect, investigate, and respond to threats faster than ever before. Now, the image shows what actually happens at the backend at a very high level. The orchestrator, it tries to determine the initial context. Initial context is easily understandable by Security Copilot because it has access to vast amount of security alerts and the expertise of the Microsoft expertise. That helps it to build the context, execute the plan, to get the required data context to answer the prompt. Then it utilizes plugins to talk to each workload, each vector of Defender, to analyze all the data and patterns to provide intelligent insights. Combining all the data and context and the model will work out a response. Now finally, the response formats the data and provides it as an output to the analyst. Since we have understood how Security Copilot works at a very high level, let's also understand the experiences provided by Security Copilot. It has a standalone experience and also an embedded experience. The standalone experience or the standalone portal is very similar to the M365 Copilot that you might have in your Windows machines. As soon as you click on the Windows, the M365 or the Copilot button, it opens a window specifically for Copilot, and you can provide a prompt and expect a response. Copilot might scan through the documents or the resources available to it and generate appropriate responses. Similarly, for Security Copilot, it has a dedicated portal where you can create forms, ask queries are the best practices for regarding security. It would combine all the data that it has as its exposure and create a response for you. Now with embedded experience, now this is very similar to what you might have, let's say in Word, if you open, you might have a tab or option for Copilot if you have the license for it. Similarly, you might have the similar Copilot experience in PowerPoint or Excel. So very similar to that, the Security Copilot experience is embedded into Defender, Defender XDR, Purview, Entra, to name a few. You might have, you might see similar options in each of these portals where you can invoke Copilot and take its assistance. I have added a few screenshots which will help you understand how the outputs looks like, and I'll also try to cover this in a live demo. All right. Moving ahead to plugins and agents. Now, Security for Copilot has this feature for integrating with plugins. Now, plugins extend the capabilities of Security Copilot to other tools as well. Now, in the native environment, in the native portal for Security Copilot, when you look for plugins, it will allow you to enable plugins for all the Microsoft security tools. Like I mentioned before, you would say Defender for Office 365, Defender XDR, Purview, Enter ID. So you can enable all of these plugins, but along with this, you also have the capability to add plugins for third-party tools. URL scan is one of the example. It's a free tool which helps you scan any URL. It gives you a screenshot, helps you understand how the behavior of the URL would be if it is activated. This helps you connect Security Copilot to external security solutions as well. Now, apart from this, these plugins, the third-party plugins, are available in Microsoft readily. But apart from this, you can also create custom integrations using custom plugins. Apart from the plugins, there's also a feature for agents. Now, agents work autonomously, and this is to automate routine security work. This will free up your tier 1s or the tier 2s from the routine work that they do. I've tried to capture one of the agent, and we'll go through that in the next slide. Now, there are multiple agents available readily with Security Copilot. I have captured one of it. This is called Conditional Access Optimization Agent. Now, an agent can be triggered automatically within a certain specific time limit or a specific time interval. But this particular agent, the Conditional Access Optimization Agent, is a manual agent. It needs to be triggered manually. And once run, it analyzes all the logs in the past 24 hours, all the conditional access policies that you have in the environment, and tries to understand if at all there's any gap, if any users are missed from it. It also has the capability to combine multiple conditional access policies into one if at all it's repeating the functionalities. Now, agents can also create new conditional access policies in report-only mode if that is how we have configured it. Now, this conditional access optimization agent, once run, it analyzes everything in the last 24 hours, and as you see in the image, it will give you the recommendations. You can review the suggestions, and it can take actions automatically after the approval if we have configured in such a way that the admin approval is required to make the actions, to implement the actions. Moving ahead to the demo. So I captured few sample outputs just to let you know how the outputs looks like. Now, since I'm working at a production environment, I would not be able to enter any live prompts, but I'm sure this would give you a good understanding of how this looks, how Security for Copilot would be helpful. Now, this image showcases the Security Copilot interface as it analyzes a complex business email compromise incident. It demonstrates the platform's advanced capabilities in dissecting email-based threats, identifying malicious patterns, and compiling the comprehensive incident summaries to aid rapid response and remediation. As you see on the left-hand side, there are multiple alerts. There is 20 alerts in total. You can just imagine the time it would take to go through the alerts and understand the exact attack story. Now, on the extreme right-hand side is what you can see, the incident summary created by Copilot. Now, this summary is created within seconds. It goes through all the alerts and lists down all the features, not the features. It lists down all the details of the incidents and the alerts, which gives you a good understanding of what this particular incident is, who are the targets, who are the attackers, which IP addresses was involved. Instead of spending 20 or 30 minutes on this particular incident, you get all the information within few seconds. Moving to the next use case, this is a sample of incident summary. So we experienced a malware incident a few days back, and that's how I tried to use Security Copilot to create an incident summary. You can imagine if you have come across a malware incident in Defender for XDR, you would have to go through the device timeline to understand what exactly happened. Now that could take easily 30 minutes or so, but creating the summary with Copilot, it just took 10 seconds to get me this information, which I would have had to wait like 20-30 minutes easily just to go through the device timeline, understand which file was opened, how did the user get the file, and all those. Now continuing with this, I also had to find out what was in there in this particular file, which was detected as malware. So I used Security Copilot to also analyze the file. This is how the output looks for the file analysis. So usually to analyze a file or a malware, you would use VirusTotal or similar tools. You would get the hash value, even with Microsoft, you would get the hash value reported to Microsoft. Whereas for third-party tools, you would get the file, submit to for the scan, and you get the results. This takes some time, but what Copilot does for you is really interesting. It gets all the data now this data is already present in Defender XDR, Defender for Endpoint. But the thing is, you will have to go to switch to multiple portals, multiple windows. But with Security Copilot, you get everything in a single window very quickly. Moving to the next use case, this is the user risk analysis in Purview. Now here I just try to understand the user risk associated with one particular user. As you can see, the output provided by Microsoft Security Copilot is the number of files uploaded to the cloud. Now I'm seeing only this entry because I have only one insider risk policy created in Purview to capture this particular activity. But if you have DLP, any other insider risk policy, you would find all the alerts, all the risky activities associated with that particular user using Copilot. Now, even with that, you can understand switching from DLP or sensitivity labels or insider risk management. It takes a good amount of time even to switch to these multiple portals and then trying to correlate these events based on the user. You can also go through Activity Explorer, but this gives you a unified view of the entire risk associated with the user in question. Moving to the next use case, this is a summary of a user at high risk generated by Copilot. Now, this user was marked as a high-risk user recently in Entra ID. Now, to understand what the actual risk was, I would have had to click on the user, try to understand the login patterns, view the risk detections of the user. It would easily take a couple of minutes for me to understand that this was generated. This particular user was marked as a risky user because the user denied MFA prompt, and that's the reason it was reported as suspicious. This was a very new user account, and as a reason, no sign-in details are available. But that's how quickly it took 1 minute 3 seconds for Defender to come up with this output. I'll try to share my screen and let's try to go through the Security Copilot portal. Just give me a few minutes while you can see the screen. I'm sorry, I think it should be visible now. So this is a standalone portal of Security Copilot. I will not be capturing the embedded portal, the embedded experience. We'll just go through the standalone portal. So if I go to sessions, this is where I see all the sessions that I have with Security Copilot. This is the prompt book library. These are pre-existing prompt books. Now, prompt books are the only difference between prompt books and prompt is that prompt book has multiple prompts which execute in sequence. It is a collection of prompts. You can create your own prompt books. These are all pre-existing Microsoft prompt books. These are the agents that we talked about earlier, used for automating something. And conditional access optimization is one of it. Purview DLP alert triaging is one of the agents available. So what I'm looking for is the usage monitoring. Yeah. We'll talk more in detail about how this is built, how Security for Copilot is built, and how the resources are captured. But you get a holistic view of how your resources are being used. So just to give you an overview of what this is. So I have configured Security Copilot with one SCU. SCU meaning Secure Compute Unit. We'll cover that more in detail, but this is how it looks. The resources that you have used, and this is the limit that you have set. I'll try to cover more in detail in the presentation. So I'll try to share the presentation slide once again. This will just wait for it to load. It should be here in a few seconds. So till the time we are waiting for the slide to load, I hope this gives a good understanding of how Copilot would be useful, how fast and effective this would make the security team to be. With that in mind, okay, great. Now I think the slides are visible again. With that in mind, let's go through some metrics provided by Microsoft. Now this is as per a randomized control trial conducted by Microsoft for Security Copilot. Based on the trial, 25% analyst, the analysts who are working with Copilot were 25% faster. They were 7% more accurate across all the tasks, and 97% of the participants said that they want Copilot next time they do they do the same task. We have tried to list down the transformation of the security operations before Copilot and after Copilot. So if the organization or if the environment does not have Security Copilot, the analysts have to manually pivot between multiple security controls. But with Copilot in that toolset, an analyst can query with natural language driven by automated analysis. Now, hours are spent on correlation and investigation when an analyst work on the incidents manually. With Copilot, you can do the same thing in minutes, even with complex investigations. With without Copilot in the tool set without Copilot in the organization's environment, tier one staff is limited to just basic trial stuff. But with the help of Copilot, junior analysts can perform expert level research. Now, this is not applicable in all the scenarios. As with any AI, you can expect outcome only if you know what you're asking. But this does mean that junior analysts who are well aware of the environment or well aware of the tools that they are working on, they would have an upper hand on compared to the analysts who do not have Copilot to their exposure. Now, before or without having Copilot, the expert analysts are overwhelmed with routine queries. With Copilot, the routine queries can be easily automated using agents, or even the tier ones would be able to handle the routine tasks, even if it's a complex investigation task. Now, this would free up some quality time for the senior staff to focus on strategic initiatives. Now, with all the siloed data, time spent for correlation and investigation, without Copilot, this becomes a very slow incident response and reporting. But with Copilot, this comes with an accelerated response with consistent quality. Because Copilot not just helps you detect, investigate the security incident, but it also helps you create reports in a standard format. Now, moving forward, we'll try to cover the steps required or the strategy you would require to onboard Security Copilot. Now, the easiest one would be to contact us to discuss the Security Copilot licensing and implementation planning for your environment. We'd be very happy and excited to help you get onboarded to Security Copilot. But it's not that difficult if you choose to do it yourself too. Onboarding to Security Copilot, you will need to provision capacity to onboard to Security Copilot. Now, in respect of Security Copilot, capacity is the context of Security Copilot. In the context of Security Copilot, capacity is an Azure resource that contains SCUs, where SCUs is security compute units, which are the required units of resources that are needed for Security Copilot to process. Now, to onboard Security Copilot, there are two options to provision the capacity. The first one is to provision the capacity through Security Copilot through Azure, and the other one is to provision the capacity through the Security Copilot portal itself. Earlier, when we were going through the standalone portal, you would get to that portal once you configure the capacity, the workspace, select the owners, the contributors who are authorized to work on Security Copilot. But without having the capacity, if you just log into Security Copilot portal, you directly get to the portal, you directly get the option to configure or provision the capacity. And to offboard security for Copilot, you will have to delete the capacity that you initially provisioned. Now, once the Security Copilot is onboarded to the environment, it would be better to run a pilot program to begin with a focused pilot group to demonstrate value and build. Now, something that I've heard in a Microsoft discussion was that the best case to do this is to take two best analysts in your organization, give one of them access to Security Copilot, and the other one would work in the traditional way, and give them the same security incident. And then, based on their results, you will be able to understand how quickly or how effective it is for your environment. Now, the scale impact, expand deployment across your security team and measure the transformational business outcomes. Now, you can scale Security Copilot by using the plugins, and you can also do a lot of automation to reduce the repetitive tasks using the agents. Now, with this, we will look more into the licensing options for Security Copilot. Now, here, as you can see, there are so we would first try to understand the security compute units. Here we have two licensing options. One is provision, and the second one is overage. Now, security compute units are the required units of resources that are needed by the Copilot to process the prompts and provide the output. Security Copilot operates on provision capacity and overage capacity. Provision capacity is billed by the hour, while the overage capacity is built on usage. Now, you can be very flexible and provision security compute units to accommodate regular workloads and adjust them anytime without long-term commitments. Now, that means if you would want to proceed with just one provisioned security compute unit, and let's say you can use 10 as the overage unit, you can do that. Now, the difference between provisioned and overage security compute unit is that provisioned is the set limit of security compute unit that would be always available, but the overage will be used whenever the provisioned unit is expired. Let's say you have run multiple prompts and you have crossed the provisioned security unit. That's when Security Copilot would use the overage unit. Now, the interesting part is that the billing is calculated on hourly blocks based on provision capacity rather than by the 60 minutes increments and has a minimum of 1 hour. Any usage consumed within the same hour is billed as a full SEU for provision capacity regardless of start or end times within that hour. For overage units, SEUs are billed up to 1 decimal increment for the consumed unit. So let's say, for instance, you provision one SEU unit at 215, you run a query, and at 220 you have deprovisioned the SEU. And if at 230 you have again provisioned another SEU and it got over by 230, you would be billed for the entire hour for that SEU. For another example, let's say the time is 250, and if you run a query, you will be billed for that 1 hour block starting from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. So when you run the query at 2:50 p.m., you would be billed for that 10 minutes, but the billing would be based on that entire hour block. And it's also noted that if you run across security compute units, why you have already started a prompt, Security Copilot would not block that prompt there and then itself. It would let it run and let you get the response, even if it runs a little bit over the SEU limit that you have set. Now, proceeding to the next section is to understand the SEU capacity and cost estimation required by your environment. Now, Microsoft provides a cost estimator. I have provided the link in this section. Using this tool, you would be easily able to estimate the SEU capacity that is required by the organization and an approximate cost of how that would look like. With that, I think we have covered most of the steps, most of the details regarding security for Copilot. If at all you have any questions, feel free to enter that in the chat box and I'll be happy to respond to it. If you'd like to contact me after this webinar, my email address is pradeep.purushothaman@trndigital.com. Please feel free to contact me regarding this, and I'll be happy to answer your queries. On the left, I have added the contact details for Turn Digital if at all you have any queries or if you would like to implement security for Copilot, and if you would require our assistance, we'll be happy to do that. Towards the right, I have added few additional resources. So due to time limits and due to some other technical reasons, I was not able to go through a live response, live prompt in the Security Copilot. But I've added the resources where you can get a brief overview of what Security Copilot in action looks like, what the benefits of Copilot are, and the overview. You can also keep a watch on the Turn Digital Insights. We post very regularly regarding IT insights and industry trends. So I don't see any questions. So with that, I'll end the session. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope this was of some help to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.